I've started a new channel called Lanila Tales. Please subscribe and watch my best stories there. Link is in the description. They said the outpost was empty, but the first bullet tore through the air before the scout could finish laughing about how boring this mission was going to be. The sun over Kartha 7 was a swollen orange ball, hanging lazily above an endless stretch of cracked desert. Abandoned metal structures, half buried in sand and regret, stood like broken teeth against the horizon. Dust storms whispered across the valley, carrying echoes of voices no one wanted to remember. The old mining facility, Outpost Thorn, had been silent for 7 years. Too silent, some said. Perfectly safe, said the Valorians. Now one of their scouts' blood was soaking into the sand where silence had just been declared. 4 hours earlier the outpost almost seemed peaceful. Captain Rowan Hale stood at the landing ramp of the transport shuttle, arms crossed, eyebrows permanently locked in disappointment at life. Next to him, Corporal Dex Renner was juggling his helmet and rations with the grace of a clown at a funeral. You think they'll have coffee machines still working in there? Dex asked. Rowan didn't answer. He never cared for jokes before caffeine. The Valorian scout team had returned, their translucent purple skin dusty from their sweep. No threats detected, Scout Leader Virik announced. Entire perimeter is secure. Rowan simply nodded, but his eyes narrowed at the stillness. He had a feeling. Rowan always had a feeling, and his feelings rarely ended with warm blankets and hot tea. They entered the outpost in slow formation. Rusted doors creaked like they hadn't been touched since the last power cell died. Old equipment lay scattered across the floors, half melted, half shot, and entirely depressing. Dex kicked a broken mining drone. Place looks like my apartment after taco night, he said. One of the Valorians tilted their head in confusion. Is taco night a form of warfare? Dex grinned. Sometimes. Just as the soldiers began to relax, the desert wind picked up outside. A soft whistle, nothing more, until it wasn't. The whistle turned to a snap. The snap turned to a scream. A sniper shot cracked through the air. The Valorian scout who had been adjusting their communicator dropped instantly, a clean hole between their violet eyes. Panic exploded like dynamite in a pantry. Get to cover, Rowan shouted, pulling Dex behind a rusted supply crate. Who fired that? Dex gasped. Nobody, Rowan said. That's the problem. Virik knelt by the fallen scout, his usually calm face shattered by grief. He declared it safe. He said it was clear, Dex whispered. Rowan scanned the horizon through his visor. No glint of metal. No rifle barrel. Nothing but heat waves dancing off sand. Yet another shot struck a piece of metal inches from Rowan's head. No muzzle flash. No sound until impact. It was like being hunted by a ghost with a grudge and excellent aim. This cannot be humans, Virik hissed. Your people left this place years ago. Dex peered around the crate. I'm not saying it's ghosts, but if a floating grandma with a rifle asks for pocket change, I'm out. Rowan ignored him. Focus. He traced the bullet's trajectory with his visor. It came from the ridge over there. But there were no footprints in the sand leading to that ridge. The surface was too smooth, like someone had carefully erased their path or they floated above the ground. The eeriest part was the silence that followed. The sniper didn't fire again. As if they were simply saying hello. Back inside the outpost, Rowan gathered the squad in the command center. Virik paced like a caged storm, his crest trembling with anger. You humans bring death wherever you go, he snapped. Rowan wanted to snap back but held his tongue. Dex tapped on an old console until sparks flew. Let's not start the species blame game. We still don't know if the sniper even breathes oxygen. Virik glared but said nothing. Rowan knelt beside the body of the fallen Valorian scout. He gently closed their eyes. We didn't come here for war, he said quietly. But war may have just found us. As the wind rattled the walls, Rowan opened the outpost's ancient surveillance system. Flickering screens displayed grainy footage from exterior cameras. And there, for a fraction of a second, something appeared. A ripple in the air on the ridge, a bend in the light like reality itself was holding its breath. Then gone. Dex leaned in. That is either a sniper using some ridiculous cloaking tech or the universe glitched and forgot to render them properly. Rowan froze the frame. The distortion had the faint outline of a humanoid shape. 2 arms holding something long and lethal. Rowan's throat tightened as a memory stirred one he had spent years trying to bury. No, he muttered. It can't be. Virik turned sharply. You know something. Rowan didn't answer immediately. He stood straight and stared out the cracked window toward the ridge. Years ago there was a program, he said quietly. A military experiment called Project Mirage. It was supposed to make soldiers invisible. It was shut down. Or so they told us. Dex blinked. You're telling me someone made invisible snipers and then thought, hey, let's abandon them on a ghost planet? Rowan didn't respond. Outside the wind howled again. Or was that laughter? Rowan looked at Dex and Virik. Whether human, alien, or something else, one thing is clear. They don't want us here. But we're not leaving. Dex sighed dramatically. Fantastic. Invisible murderers. Sand in my boots. And no coffee. Best Tuesday ever. Rowan almost smiled. Almost. Then the radio crackled on its own. A distorted voice whispered through the static. Leave the outpost. Or the next shot won't miss. The room fell silent. Rowan stepped closer to the radio, but the signal died with a soft pop. Beyond the cracked window the sun dipped lower, casting long shadows over the silent graves of Outpost Thorn. The first scout lay still in the sand. And somewhere on the ridge unseen eyes watched, waited, and adjusted their scope. War had just begun. The air inside Outpost Thorn felt heavier after the shot. The walls, once just metal and dust, now felt like the ribs of a dying beast holding in its final breath. Rowan stood in the middle of the operations room trying to piece together the chaos with logic that refused to cooperate. Virik stood stiffly near the body of the fallen scout, his face unreadable. Dex meanwhile was poking a broken coffee dispenser like it owed him money. I swear if we survive this I am stealing that invisible sniper's mud, he muttered. Rowan barely heard him. His eyes were fixed on the ridge where light had bent around something not quite visible and not entirely gone. The humans and Valorians gathered in strained silence. No one trusted anyone or anything anymore. The message from the radio echoed in their heads: leave the outpost, or the next shot won't miss. The sandstorm outside intensified, making the outpost windows rattle like teeth, chattering in fear. Virik finally broke the silence. Your people created this weapon and abandoned it here. Now it has awakened and spilled Valorian blood. Rowan clenched his jaw. We do not know who fired that shot. Virik stepped closer, eyes burning. But you suspect. You suspect because you know more than you say. Rowan did not deny it. Dex stepped forward with both hands raised. All right, everybody relax. We are all on the same team here. Except the invisible guy with the rifle. He can choke. Virik hissed softly. Humor is a weak shield, human. Dex shrugged. Yeah, but it beats getting ulcers. Rowan turned to them both. Standing here arguing won't bring him back, and it won't keep the next bullet from finding someone else. We need answers, and we need them now. They split into small teams. Virik and 2 Valorians examined the ridge under heavy cover while Rowan, Dex, and communications officer Zara searched the outpost for clues. Zara was quiet as always, her calm voice usually a comfort during missions. She carried her date pad like a sacred artifact, scanning for unusual transmissions. Dex kept talking because silence made him nervous. You know, if I ever become invisible, remind me to use my powers for good, like sneaking into the officer's pantry. Rowan didn't respond. His mind wandered back to Project Mirage, the whispers, the locked doors, the screams that never officially existed. They reached the western corridor closest to the sniper's suspected position. Metal grated under their boots. Rowan noticed something odd near one of the large ventilation pipes. The dust was smooth unnaturally, like someone had brushed it away. He knelt and ran his gloved fingers across the surface. No footprints, no markings, no trace at all. Too clean, he murmured. Dex crouched beside him. Maybe they float. Anti-gravity boots, invisibility cloaks, next thing you know they will be firing bullets that apologize before hitting you. Rowan stared at the smooth dust. Or they do not walk at all. Zara checked her scanner. I'm picking up faint energy pulses around this area. Very faint, like someone wanted them hidden. Could be residual from cloaking tech. Rowan stood. Dex checked the storage bay for any old weapon blueprints. Zara run a frequency sweep on all channels. If someone is transmitting, we need to know how and where. And you, Captain Rowan? Zara asked without looking up. Rowan stared at the ridge through a cracked window. I am going to find where that shot came from. The ridge was quiet when Rowan reached it, the world muffled by thick curtains of sand. He crouched low, rifle at the ready, tracing the area where he had seen the light ripple. No prints, no equipment, no sign of a camp. Just rocks twisted by centuries of wind. He was about to give up when he saw it. Embedded in a stone was a metallic fragment no larger than a coin. He pried it free and examined it. It hummed faintly, almost like it was breathing. A cloaking shard from a power system, not human, not Valorian, something else entirely. Back at the outpost, Rowan placed the shard on the table. Varric returned moments later, empty-handed but seething with frustration. No tracks, no thermal traces. Either this sniper evaporates, or they are something we have never faced. Dex leaned over the shard. What is this alien jewelry from the Bullet Club? Rowan ignored the comment. This tech is beyond anything either of our species possess. It draws power from ambient radiation, using it to bend light and sound. Varric frowned. Meaning our enemy could be anywhere, and we would never know until they fire. Zara looked up from her datapad, alarm in her voice for the first time. I just intercepted a transmission. Short burst, encrypted, but I traced it. It came from inside the outpost. Rowan froze. What? Zara nodded. From our own communications array. Someone here is sending signals. Dex let out a low whistle. So we have an invisible sniper outside and a traitor inside. Fantastic. Rowan felt a cold knot in his chest tighten. Lock down all exits. No one leaves, no one enters. Dex muttered, I knew this day would come. I should have stayed home and opened that noodle bar. They gathered all remaining personnel in the mess hall. Faces pale, tired, frightened. Rowan spoke calmly. Someone here has been transmitting data to the sniper. Until we find them, no one goes anywhere. Varric stood beside him, arms folded. If the traitor confesses now, they will be spared Valorian justice. Dex whispered to Rowan. I don't know what Valorian justice is, but I bet it involves sharp objects and no anesthesia. Rowan stepped forward. If anyone wants to say something, now is the time. Silence stretched like a wire ready to snap. Then lights flickered. Emergency alarms wailed. Zara shouted from across the room. Communications console just activated remotely. Someone is trying to open a channel. Rowan sprinted toward the console. The screen flashed with a single line of text. You were warned. Then every light in the outpost died. The outpost fell into darkness, and through the shattered window came the faint glint of a scope turning toward them. Darkness swallowed everything inside Outpost Thorn. It was not the peaceful kind of darkness that followed bedtime stories or flickering campfires. This was the predator kind of dark, thick and silent, where every breath sounded too loud and every heartbeat felt like it might give away your position. For a moment no one spoke. Then someone whispered a prayer. Then someone else cursed. Somewhere in that mix Rowan's voice cut through like a blade. Emergency lights. Move now. Dex stumbled toward the control panel, guided more by instinct than accuracy. I cannot even see my own fingers. If I die here, tell people I was heroic and also extremely handsome. No one laughed this time. A few seconds later, dim red lights flickered to life, bathing the corridor in a blood-like glow. Shadows stretched across the metal walls like claws. Rowan scanned the room. Everyone was still there. No windows shattered. No holes in skulls. The sniper had not fired yet. That made it worse. He was waiting. Watching. Varric's crest trembled with tension. This is a hunt. And we are not the hunters. Rowan agreed. Zara ran to the communications console and began typing rapidly. I am trying to reboot internal systems. Someone used an override key I have never seen before. Dex leaned over her shoulder. Please tell me it is not another ghost. Zara did not look up. Not a ghost. A person. Someone who knows our systems better than we do. The message you were warned still blinked faintly on the screen like a heartbeat slowly dying. Rowan placed the cloaking shard on the table. It pulsed softly in the crimson light. Dex glanced at it with unease. That thing makes my teeth itch. Rowan ignored him and instead turned to Zara. We have two enemies now. One outside and one inside. We cannot fight both blind. Zara nodded. I can restore partial power to one system at a time. What do you want first? Rowan answered immediately. Cameras. Power surged through the old wiring like blood returning to cold limbs. One by one, the screens around the room flickered to life. Most showed only static or empty corridors. But one camera feed caught everyone's attention. On the northwest ridge where the first shot came from, something stood. A shimmer. A ripple of air shaped like a human silhouette holding a rifle. The sniper stood perfectly still, facing the camera, as if posing. Dex whispered, please blink, or breathe, or do something to reassure me you are not a ghost. Virik growled low. That is no ghost. That is a soldier. Rowan's eyes remained fixed on the screen. He knew that posture. The slight tilt of the head. The way the weapon was cradled. Memory clawed its way up from the depths of his mind. Years ago in a training simulation a young soldier had stood that exact same way. Calm. Precise. Invisible to the enemy. Rowan spoke softly. He was part of Project Mirage. Virik turned sharply. Explain. Rowan rubbed his forehead. Project Mirage was a human military experiment designed to create invisible operatives. Cloaking tech integrated directly into combat suits using neural synchronization. But the tests were unstable. Some of the soldiers began to show side effects. Hallucinations. Aggression. Dissociation. The project was shut down. Officially all suits were destroyed and the soldiers reassigned. Dex glanced at the screen. Guess someone forgot to hand in their uniform. Zara leaned over the console. This transmission key used to shut down the lights. It is not from our database. It predates our systems. Rowan understood immediately. It was from Project Mirage's command protocols. Meaning someone from that project is here now. Virik's voice lowered to a dangerous calm. Your people created a monster. Now it hunts us. Rowan's jaw tightened. It is not a monster. Not yet. But if we do not stop him, he will become one. Before Virik could reply, a klaxon blared across the outpost. Perimeter breach. Rowan sprinted to the nearest screen. Outside figures moved in the sand. Not one but several ripples like heat mirages walking upright, weapons in hand. Dex's eyes widened. Oh, fantastic. Invisible friends. Virik barked orders to his squad. Defensive positions. Prepare for contact. Rowan turned to Zara. Lock down the gates. She nodded and her fingers flew across the console. But before the gates could seal, the inner doors slammed shut with a heavy metallic thud. The control panel sparked and died. Zara stared in disbelief. Someone inside has overridden me. That was when the door behind them opened with a hiss. Standing in the doorway was Sergeant Elias Creed, one of Rowan's engineers. His uniform was dusty, his expression unreadable. In his hand he held a datapad connected to a small transmitter. Elias, Rowan said slowly, what are you doing? Elias did not answer immediately. He stepped into the room and placed the transmitter on the table next to the cloaking shard. His eyes were hollow, tired. You should not have come back here, Rowan. This outpost was supposed to stay buried. Virik moved swiftly, but Rowan signaled him to stop. Elias sighed. You don't understand. None of you do. They left us here. The Mirage units. The prototypes. Abandoned after the shutdown. They survived. They evolved. They do not trust humans or Valorians. So I made a deal. Dex squinted. A deal with invisible homicidal ex-soldiers. Elias's voice trembled with something like guilt. They only want isolation. This place is sacred to them. I kept others away. Sent false reports. But when command insisted on reclaiming it, I had to protect them. Rowan's voice was cold. So you helped them kill? Elias's eyes filled with pain. I never wanted blood. I sent warnings transmissions begging them to leave before the units acted. But once the first shot was fired, it was too late. A bullet shattered the window behind Elias. He fell forward, eyes wide, shock frozen on his face. From the ridge, the sniper lowered his rifle slightly as if acknowledging a debt paid. Zara screamed. Dex cursed. Rowan caught Elias as he fell. His last words were faint. I tried to save them. Then he was gone. The room descended into chaos. Virik shouted orders. Dex checked the windows. Zara covered her mouth, tears streaming. Rowan gently laid Elias on the floor and stood, his eyes fixed on the ridge. Enough. We end this. Virik stepped beside him, gripping his weapon. Together then. Rowan nodded. Zara wiped her face. I will give you whatever support I can. Dex loaded his rifle with shaky hands. I am going to regret this so hard. Outside, the wind howled across the desert. Invisible figures closed in around Outpost Thorn. And on the ridge, the sniper turned away, vanishing into the shimmering air like a ghost called back to war. The battle for the outpost had begun, not with thunder but with the quiet promise of reckoning. Wind screamed like a living thing outside Outpost Thorn as chaos tightened its grip on everyone inside. Soldiers ran to positions, their boots thundering against metal floors while alarms pulsed through the halls like a dying heartbeat. Inside the command room, Rowan stood over Elias's still body, his expression carved out of stone. Dex stood nearby, breathing hard, eyes darting between the windows and the ridge. Zara sat at the console, her fingers trembling as she tried to re-establish control of the systems. Virik paced like a caged predator, his crest twitching in anger and grief. Outside, shapes continued to flicker in and out of vision like mirages stalking the dunes. Rowan took a slow breath. He had seen death before, but Elias's betrayal carved something deeper. He had not just sided with the enemy, he had tried to protect them like they were broken children instead of soldiers turned ghosts. Dex broke the silence with his usual mix of panic and humor. I am just saying, if we make it out of this, I am opening a bakery. No guns, just croissants. Rowan ignored him. We cannot wait for them to strike again. If those Mirage units get inside this outpost, we are finished. Virik's voice was sharp. Your people made them. Now you stop them. Rowan met his gaze. And I will. But we do it together. Virik hesitated, then gave a stiff nod. Zara finally exhaled. I have control of internal power again, but only partially. I can reroute energy to shields or communications, not both. Rowan looked out the window at the swirling sand. Shields. We need to keep them out before we start talking to anyone else. Zara nodded and redirected the energy. The faint blue shimmer of the outpost's energy barrier flickered to life around the perimeter. Dex watched it with wide eyes. Neat. Think it stops bullets? Rowan replied, only if the bullets are polite enough to ask permission first. Dex groaned. Great. We are all going to die with sarcasm in our ears. Zara kept her eyes on her datapad. Something else is happening. I'm detecting encrypted internal signals. They are bouncing from different consoles like someone is still sending instructions. Virik snarled. Another traitor. Dex paled. Please tell me it is not me. I can barely send an email, let alone encrypted sabotage messages. Rowan's mind raced. Elias had been the obvious betrayer, but he was not the only one with access. Someone else inside had continued sending data to the Mirage units. Someone quiet, someone trusted. He scanned the room. Then his gaze lingered on Zara. She sensed it. Her hands froze. Rowan, what are you thinking? A cold silence fell like a curtain. He stepped forward slowly. When did you first detect the transmissions, Zara? She swallowed hard. 2 days ago. But I did not know what they were. I thought it was interference. Virik narrowed his eyes. And you did not tell anyone? Zara's voice trembled. I wanted to be sure before raising panic. Before Rowan could respond, the lights flickered again. A crack appeared in the energy shield outside as if something invisible struck it like a hammer. Dex yelped. They are testing the shield. Rowan turned sharply. Dex, guard the door. Virik watched the corridor. Zara, come with me. She hesitated, then followed. He led her down a narrow hallway toward the old engineering station. Dust clung to the walls. Pipes groaned like beasts waking from sleep. Finally, they reached a console buried beneath years of sand and rust. Rowan wiped it clean and activated it manually. Code lit up the screen like fireflies in the dark. Zara stepped back. I do not understand. Why are we here? Rowan typed a command. Because this console predates the current systems. If someone altered the network, it would show here. The screen blinked. Lines of foreign code appeared interwoven with standard commands. Zara stared. That is Mirage protocol. Rowan's voice hardened. And it was activated from the communications deck using your authorization key. Zara's eyes widened in horror. No. No, I never. Rowan's voice was calm but relentless. Then someone used your access. Who else knew your encryption patterns? Zara's voice broke. Only one person. My brother. He was part of Project Mirage before it was shut down. He disappeared. They told me he died. Rowan stepped back. And now you think he is alive? Zara nodded, tears trembling. I did not know for sure. When I saw the distorted figure on the ridge, I thought it might be him. That is why I tried to decode the signal alone. If he is out there, I needed to be certain. Rowan's jaw clenched. Why did you not tell us? Because she whispered. I thought maybe he was trying to warn us. Not kill us. A distant explosion rattled the walls. Dex's voice crackled through the radio. Guy's shields are holding but barely. And Virik almost shot me by accident again, which is becoming a theme. Rowan grabbed his rifle. We do not have time for lies. Zara wiped her eyes and stood straighter. I will help you stop them. If my brother is out there, he needs to hear the truth. Rowan gave a small nod. Let us hope he listens before shooting us. They returned to the command room. Virik looked between them suspiciously. Dex was sweating heavily and muttering something about croissants and no sniper zones. Rowan ignored their confusion. We go to the ridge. We draw them out. We end this. Dex groaned loudly. Why is your solution always walking directly into danger? Rowan responded, because running away never works. Virik stepped forward, weapon charged. My squad will flank left. You approach from the center. We will not fail. Zara adjusted her datapad, linking it to Rowan's visor. I can emit a pulse that briefly disrupts cloaking fields. You will only get a few seconds of visibility. Dex checked his gear and sighed. If I live, I want my bakery to have your name on a pastry. Rowan smirked. If you die, I am stealing all your recipes. They moved out into the storm. Sand lashed their armor. The world became a blur of orange dust and distant gunmetal gray. The ridge loomed ahead. Zara's voice whispered through Rowan's calm pulse, ready. Rowan raised his hand. 3, 2, 1. The pulse exploded invisibly through the air. For a heartbeat, the world shimmered like glass cracking. Figures appeared all around them, armored soldiers with pale skin and hollow eyes, suits humming with unstable energy. And at the front stood the sniper, his rifle aimed directly at Rowan, his face uncovered for the first time. Zara gasped. Rowan's grip tightened on his weapon. The sniper's face was human but marked with metallic veins, eyes glowing faintly like dying stars. And behind the sniper another voice crackled through the comms. Rowan Hale. You left us behind. Now you will understand what it means to be invisible to the world you swore to protect. The pulse faded. The figures vanished again. But the echo of that voice stayed like a cold hand around Rowan's heart. The battle had become personal, and there was no turning back. Sand and static filled the world as Rowan braced himself against the howling wind, heart pounding like a war drum in his chest. The Mirage soldiers had vanished once more, only their faint footprints across the dunes proof they had ever appeared. Beside him, Dex cursed under his breath while trying to keep sand out of his mouth with a scarf that smelled suspiciously like reheated rations. Viric's squad spread into formation along the ridge, silent and disciplined even as the storm threatened to swallow them whole. Zara stood slightly behind Rowan, her datapad trembling in her hands, her eyes burning with fierce determination and a hint of fear as she whispered, "I know that voice. It is my brother." Rowan nodded, but his voice remained cold. "Whoever is behind that rifle is not the same man you remember." Dex muttered under the wind, "Just great family reunions with invisible snipers." Meanwhile, back at the outpost, defense alarms continued to scream. The shield crackled with each impact of unseen bullets, like a spiderweb under strain. Viric spoke into his comm, "Evenly, Mirage units are circling. They test our defenses before they strike." Rowan tightened his grip on his rifle. "Then we strike first." With a short, sharp signal they moved. Rowan led the charge down the ridge into the swirling sand, their shapes distorted by heat and dust. Zara fired short pulses of electromagnetic disruption from the device on her wrist. Each pulse sent a visible shimmer through the air, and for a heartbeat Mirage soldiers appeared like ghosts, still half tethered to invisibility. Figures with pallid faces, eyes glowing faintly, helmets cracked from old battle suits humming with unstable cloaking tech. Dex fired a plasma bolt that sizzled past one of them, hitting only sand. He shouted wildly, "I officially hate science fiction." Rowan ignored him, focusing on the faint outline of the sniper on the far ridge, moving with lethal calm. Plasma and rail rounds exchanged in blasts that shook the air, yet most hit nothing but dust. Mirage bullets sliced through the wind, whining like hornets. Viric's squad fired in tight bursts, forcing Mirage units to reposition. The storm made aiming nearly impossible, sand stinging against exposed skin, metal groaning under the wind's assault. Dex dove behind a half-buried mining hopper, barely avoiding a shot that scorched the air where his head had been. "If I survive this, I am suing every instructor who said recon duty is low risk," he muttered. Rowan slid behind a broken wall, scanning the horizon. He saw it a glint, brief as a blink, the sniper's shifting position. Rowan spoke sharply, "Zara, pulse northwest at 10 degrees elevation." Zara hesitated, then pressed the trigger. Another ripple of energy rolled across the ridge, and the sniper appeared for the span of a breath. Tall, wrapped in a tattered cloaking suit, rifle raised steady as a statue. But this time his visor was up, revealing his face. He was older than Rowan remembered, scars crossing his skin like broken lightning, eyes either fully human nor machine. Rowan's throat tightened. "Creed Fallon." Viric fired immediately, but the sniper vanished before the plasma bolt reached him. Dex peeked over the crater wall. "Did you know that guy?" Rowan's answer was flat. "He trained under me. He was the best. And now he is trying to kill us." Dex groaned. "Great, so now we are being hunted by your evil ninja student." Rowan ignored him, standing. "Keep moving. Do not let them flank." But the Mirage units were already adapting. Their bullets became more precise, their movements more coordinated. They advanced in silence like shadows turned soldiers. Back at the outpost, the shield let out a sharp cracking sound. Zara checked her datapad and her eyes widened. "The shield will fail in 8 minutes." Rowan looked at Viric. "If they breach the outpost, everyone inside is done." Viric nodded grimly. "Then we make our stand here." Dex laughed breathlessly. "Brilliant. Let us die with style." Rowan wiped blood from his forehead, unaware when he had been grazed. He spoke into the comm, "This is Captain Rowan Hale. To the Mirage leader. Creed, if you can hear me, we do not have to do this." The wind answered with silence, but then the radio crackled. A distorted voice, colder than the storm. "You left us to rot, Hale. You went back to medals and parades. We stayed in the dark. Forgotten. Disposable." Rowan gritted his teeth. "I tried to shut the project down. I filed reports. Complaints." Creed's laugh was bitter. "And yet here we are." Zara stepped forward, voice trembling yet strong. "Creed, it is me, Zara. You do not have to do this. Come back. You are not alone." There was a long pause. Then Creed's voice returned, softer. "Zara. You should not be here." Leave before they make you one of us. Before you disappear. The transmission cut. Dex exhaled. That is the creepiest family drama I have ever heard. Suddenly an explosion tore through the sand, a Mirage soldier detonating a charge near Varric's position. The ground shook, knocking Dex flat. Varric roared orders and returned fire. Rowan saw his chance. Creed had repositioned near an outcrop overlooking the outpost, likely to deliver the final blow once the shield collapsed. Rowan shouted, "Cover me," and sprinted down the slope. Bullets screamed past him. Dex swore and followed. Varric provided covering fire, his plasma bursts lighting the storm like dying stars. Rowan reached the lower ridge, panting. Creed stood above him, cloaked but faintly visible against the storm as Zara's final pulse disrupted his suit. For a brief frozen moment they faced each other. Mentor and soldier. Memory and regret. Rowan raised his rifle. Creed did not. Instead he lowered his weapon, his voice calm. "Do you see now, Rowan? This world forgets its broken tools. We were made to vanish. So we became the invisible." Rowan's voice cracked. "You can still stop this." Creed shook his head slowly. "Too late." Then the ridge shuddered. Mirage units unleashed a coordinated barrage at the shield. The outpost glowed under the impact, and the barrier shattered into sparks. Dex yelled, "They are inside." Rowan turned eyes wide. Creed vanished in the storm like a memory dissolving. Rowan felt the world tilt. The final assault had begun and the outpost was no longer protected. Somewhere behind him Zara whispered, "Captain, if we do not stop them now, no one gets out alive." Rowan gripped his rifle. The storm roared louder. Inside, invisible soldiers moved toward the heart of Outpost Thorn, and the true battle was only beginning. The shield collapsed with a sound like glass shattering under thunder, and with it any illusion of safety inside Outpost Thorn vanished. Sirens screamed and red emergency lights flickered against walls stained with fear and dust. Rowan ran across the courtyard, the sandstorm clawing at his armor, while Dex trailed behind, gasping and muttering promises to every deity he could name. Mirage soldiers crossed the perimeter, silent and invisible except when the wind revealed a faint shimmer or a bullet flashed from nowhere. Varric's squad met them with disciplined fire, turning the entrance into a storm of plasma and sand. Zara stayed by the generator conduit, rerouting what little power remained into internal barriers. Her hands shook, but her eyes were steady. "They are inside," she whispered over comms. Rowan's voice came back firm, "Hold the control room no matter what." Inside, the outpost corridors echoed with distant gunfire, and voices shouting orders in both human and Valorian. Dex leaned against the wall, reloading his rifle with trembling hands. He tried to joke, but his voice cracked. "I thought I was going to die of boredom on this mission. Now I might die of too much excitement." Rowan glanced at him, sand streaked across his face. "Stay close. If we fall, the outpost falls." Dex nodded and followed, even though his legs shook like jelly in a blender. Smoke curled through the corridors where a plasma grenade had gone off near engineering. Rowan and Dex swept through the haze, stepping over debris and the remnants of drones torn apart by invisible blades. A sound behind them made Dex spin, raising his rifle, but it was only Zara, breathless, covered in dust but alive. "I rerouted power to door seals," she said, "but it will not last long." Rowan pressed his ear to the nearest wall, listening to distant metallic footsteps. "They are heading for the core chamber. If they shut it down, this whole outpost goes dark forever." They reached the core chamber, a vast circular room dominated by a glowing reactor humming with unstable energy. At its center stood Varric with two Valorians, blood spattered across their armor but unbroken. The doors groaned as Mirage soldiers tested the seals from outside. Rowan moved to the console and typed rapidly, initiating a manual lock sequence. Dex took position behind a bulkhead rifle, ready, though his breathing sounded like a broken accordion. Zara monitored the sensors. "They are surrounding us," she said. "And Creed, he is coming too." The doors shuddered violently, then stopped. For a moment there was silence. Then the doors slid open with a hiss. Creed stepped through, a lone uncloaked rifle slung across his back as if he no longer needed it. His pale skin was threaded with metallic veins and his eyes glowed like dying embers. Behind him Mirage soldiers shimmered into view, half seen like broken reflections. Rowan stepped forward, weapon lowered but not loose. Creed, it ends here. Creed tilted his head, his expression unreadable. Yes, it does. Varric positioned himself like a shield between Creed and the core. Dex whispered, if anybody needs me, I will be behind literally anything solid. Rowan ignored him. Creed looked at Zara, and for a moment his hard expression softened. You should have stayed away. She stepped forward, voice trembling but strong. Brother, come back. This is not you. You are not a weapon. Creed's eyes flickered. I was a soldier. Then I was an experiment. Now I am nothing. Rowan shook his head. You are alive. That is enough. Creed reached up slowly and removed his rifle, placing it on the floor. Dex blinked confused and muttered, am I hallucinating? Creed spread his hands. I do not want to kill anyone else. But they will if you do not leave. He turned his head slightly toward the Mirage soldiers. They no longer follow orders. They follow survival. Varric narrowed his eyes. Then help us stop them. Creed closed his eyes. There is only one way. The core. Shut it down. A pulse strong enough to disable all cloaking tech. But it will burn everything around it. Including us. Zara shook her head violently. No. There must be another way. Rowan's eyes locked on Creed's. That pulse could kill everyone in the outpost. Creed nodded. Unless someone stays behind to control it manually. Dex choked. Nope. Absolutely not volunteering. Creed stepped toward the console. I will do it. Rowan moved to block him. No. You step away from this. Creed's voice turned quiet. Rowan, I died long ago. Let me finish something that matters. Zara grabbed Creed's arm, tears on her cheeks. Please. He gently placed a hand on her shoulder. Live. For both of us. Then he walked toward the reactor controls, inputting commands with practiced fingers. Alarms began to wail louder. Power levels surged. Rowan realized Creed knew the system better than anyone alive. Dex stared at the reactor light reflecting in his wide eyes. We need to go. Now. Rowan looked at Creed one last time. Creed met his eyes, a flicker of gratitude in the storm of resignation. Go, Rowan. You gave up on Mirage. I never did. But maybe I can give it peace. They ran. Varric led his squad through collapsing corridors while Dex pointed out every possible exit between prayers. Zara cried silently, clutching her datapad. Rowan brought up the rear, glancing back at the core chamber just as the heavy blast doors sealed with a final clang. They burst out into the open desert as the first light of dawn broke over the dunes. A low rumble echoed through the outpost's metal skeleton. Then a wave of blue-white energy erupted from within like a silent scream. It swept across the sands, washing over Rowan, Dex, Zara, Varric, making the world shimmer like water disturbed. Mirage soldiers caught in the blast flickered violently, their cloaking tech failing, sparks flying from their armor before they fell lifeless to the ground. When it ended, there was only wind. The outpost stood scarred but silent. Rowan looked back at the core chamber's smoking ruins, knowing Creed was gone. Dex placed a hand on his shoulder, softer than any joke he had ever told. He saved us. Zara knelt in the sand, tears falling like glass. Varric bowed his head, murmuring a Valorian prayer for fallen warriors. Rowan finally spoke into his recorder, his voice quiet but steady. Outpost Thorn is secured. But not cleansed. We survived. Because one man chose to be seen again. He ended the recording and stared at the rising sun. Somewhere far beyond the dunes, a faint signal blinked to life in the stars, as if another invisible scope had just aligned. The war was over. Or perhaps it had only just been noticed.